The afternoon sunlight streamed through the window of my room, painting everything in a soft, golden glow. It should have been an ordinary Saturday, a chance to relax before the week ahead, but I couldn't shake the nervous excitement that had settled in my chest. My name is Ryan, and if someone asked my classmates, or anyone really, they describe me as just another quiet student, the kind who fades into the background, keeps his head down, and avoids unnecessary attention. That image was far from the truth. For as long as I could remember, I had been fascinated by the idea of becoming someone else. Not entirely different, but freer, softer, more confident. I had experimented in secret, trying on my sister Mia's clothes when she wasn't around, slipping into the skirts, blouses, and shoes that she left carelessly lying about her room. At first, it was curiosity. Then it became something more, a passion, a way to explore parts of myself that no one else would ever see. Mia didn't know. No one knew. Not my friends, not my teachers, and certainly not Emma, my girlfriend. Emma was sweet, kind, and endlessly supportive in ways I had never expected. She knew I had quirks, little eccentricities, but my crossdressing had always been a tightly guarded secret. I liked it that way. It was mine. But that Saturday, I couldn't resist the temptation. Mia had left her school uniform out after laundry, folded neatly on the chair in her room, just waiting to be tried on. The uniform wasn't extraordinary, just a plaid skirt, a crisp white blouse, a navy vest, and a tie, but it held something exhilarating for me. Slipping it on felt like stepping into a completely different world. The skirt brushed against my thighs, the blouse crisp against my skin, and the tie hung around my neck awkwardly at first, but soon I adjusted it, feeling the thrill of adopting a persona I had only glimpsed in mirrors and daydreams. The navy vest fit snugly, and I felt transformed, not just in appearance but in presence. I walked to the mirror and studied myself. My reflection wasn't entirely me, yet it was. I practiced a few steps, swaying slightly in the skirt, noticing how the pleats moved with me. My sneakers were substituted with Mia's black school shoes, which clicked softly against the floor. I had to admit it felt right. Strange, vulnerable, but right. I could almost imagine myself walking through the halls of school, catching glances from classmates who didn't know the real me.
A knock on the door startled me.
My heart leapt into my throat. "Ryan, are you in there?" It was Emma, calling from a hallway. Panic bubbled inside me. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. I glanced at the mirror again, running a hand over the uniform as if it could shield me from exposure. I had to act normal, or at least act like the normal Ryan she expected. "Just a minute," I called back, my voice a little higher than usual, betraying the nervous energy coiling inside me. Emma's footsteps approached, and I realized how precarious the situation had become. This wasn't just a private experiment anymore. It was a dangerous flirtation with exposure, a step into a world where anyone could see me as someone else entirely. I took a deep breath and adjusted my skirt, smoothing down the pleats. For a moment, I let myself imagine what it would be like if no one knew it was me. If I could walk through school tomorrow as Mia's transfer student, the new girl, with everyone none the wiser. The idea was thrilling and terrifying. Emma peeked through the slightly open door. "Are you okay in there? You sound different." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, just experimenting with some stuff. Don't worry about it." The lie sounded flimsy even to me, but it bought me a few precious seconds. Once Emma left, I took the time to finish the transformation. I brushed my hair, adjusted the uniform carefully, and even put on Mia's backpack, feeling the strange thrill of the role I was about to assume. Standing in front of the mirror, I caught sight of someone completely unfamiliar, yet undeniably me. The reflection stared back, confident, soft, and ready for the challenge. That's when it hit me. If I could pull this off, even just for a short while, I could experience a part of myself I had only ever dared to imagine. I could walk the halls as someone else, interact with my classmates from a completely different perspective, and explore the thrill of being noticed, admired, or even envied. But the stakes were high. If anyone, especially Emma or my sister, discovered me, it could shatter the fragile secret I had built over years. I took a deep breath, steadied my shoulders, and stepped away from the mirror. Today, I wasn't just Ryan. I was Mia's transfer student. And stepping into her uniform meant stepping into a world full of curiosity, danger, and exhilarating possibility. As I walked to the front door, backpack slung over my shoulder, I realized that the ordinary Saturday had turned into something extraordinary. A dare, a secret, and a transformation that could change everything or destroy it. The thrill and fear intertwined, a knot of anticipation tightening in my chest. I wasn't just trying on a uniform. I was stepping into someone else's life, someone who could walk, talk, and breathe in ways I had never dared. And as I opened the door, the sunlight spilling across the hallway seemed to spotlight the beginning of a journey that could unravel every secret I had ever kept, and yet, I couldn't help but smile. The mirror had already whispered the truth. Once you take the first step, there's no turning back. The moment I left my room, the uniform felt both foreign and familiar. The skirt swayed lightly with each step, the pleats moving in rhythm with the nervous energy coursing through me. The blouse clung slightly to my skin, crisp yet soft, and the vest pressed snugly against my torso. Every detail of Mia's uniform amplified the transformation. I wasn't just wearing clothes. I was stepping into a different version of myself. I paused in the hallway, glancing at the staircase leading to the living room. Emma had gone out for a short errand, or so she said, and that left me a narrow window to explore this new persona. My pulse quickened. What if someone came by? What if my sister returned early? The fear of being discovered made every heartbeat louder, sharper. Still, the thrill was intoxicating. I ran my fingers over the tie, adjusting it carefully, and then smoothed down the skirt. Looking into the hallway mirror, I barely recognized the person staring back. This wasn't just me in Mia's clothes. It was someone else entirely, someone daring, playful, and free. As I walked to the kitchen, I felt a knot of guilt tighten in my stomach. I loved Emma, and yet here I was, embracing a secret side of myself I had never shared. Shame mixed with excitement, fear with exhilaration. Every step in Mia's uniform made me feel lighter, bolder, but also more vulnerable. What am I doing? I whispered to myself, my reflection catching in the small kitchen window. The sunlight highlighted the pleats of the skirt and the soft curve of my figure, and for a brief moment, I imagined walking through school halls like this, a confident, feminine presence who no one suspected was really me. My mind raced with possibilities. Could I pull this off? Could I truly become Mia's transfer student without anyone noticing? And more importantly, could I resist the urge to reveal myself to Emma, to show her this side of me before it was meant to be discovered? The makeup was next. I had stolen Mia's small kit from her dresser, a compact with a soft pink blush, mascara, eyeliner, and a tinted lip balm. My hands trembled slightly as I applied the blush to my cheeks, watching the color bring warmth and dimension to my face. The mascara made my eyes look larger, softer, almost pleading. The lip balm tingled as I applied it, the faint shimmer catching the sunlight. Each stroke, each adjustment, was a small thrill. I could feel myself changing, not just in appearance but in posture, in voice, in the way I held myself. Standing in front of the mirror, adjusting the hem of the skirt and the vest, I felt a strange duality. Ryan still existed underneath, but the person in the uniform was stepping forward, confident and undeniably feminine. I practiced a few steps, moving carefully in Mia's school shoes. They were stiff at first, unfamiliar, but soon I found a rhythm. I swayed slightly, mimicking how I had seen Mia walk, feeling the soft sway of the skirt around my thighs. The reflection stared back, a mix of anxiety and exhilaration mirrored in my eyes. The clock ticked, each second a reminder of the risk I was taking. Emma could walk in at any moment, my sister could return from her errands early, and neighbors could see me moving around the house like this. The thrill of being caught, combined with the deep desire to see myself as someone else, made my heart pound relentlessly. I decided to leave my room, venturing into the living room. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like an alarm, and I froze several times, straining to hear any footsteps from outside. For a moment, I imagined my classmates seeing me like this at school tomorrow, whispering about the mysterious transfer student who carried herself with unusual confidence. The thought made me shiver, not entirely from fear, but from the heady thrill of possibility. With each passing minute, the lines between Ryan and Mia's persona blurred. I found myself adopting softer gestures, a higher voice pitch when I hummed a tune from the radio, a tilt of the head that felt strange yet natural. Every movement, every glance in the mirror reinforced the duality of my identity. The uniform wasn't just clothing, it was a key to exploring a hidden side of myself I had only glimpsed in private, fleeting moments. And now, with the world, or at least the house, empty except for me, I could fully embrace it. I even found myself adjusting the backpack, slinging it over one shoulder with a careful grace. I practiced small gestures, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear, smoothing down the skirt, each movement heightening the feeling that I'd become someone else entirely. The thrill was addictive, intoxicating. The suspense heightened when I heard a sound at the front door. My pulse jumped. Was it Emma? A neighbor? A delivery? I froze, holding my breath, and then listened intently. The footsteps receded. Relief washed over me, but only briefly. I knew the next encounter could happen at any moment, and each one would test my ability to maintain this new identity. I decided to take a small risk. I walked to the front window and peeked outside. No one was there. The street was quiet. I let out a shaky laugh. The tension eased, and for a fleeting moment, I felt invincible. I was Ryan, I was Mia's transfer student, and in this empty house, I could be whoever I wanted. I ventured further into the living room, taking careful steps on the polished floor. Each click of Mia's shoes echoed, a constant reminder of the stakes. I glanced at the mirror in the hallway and almost didn't recognize myself. The skirt, the vest, the tie, the makeup, they weren't just a costume. They were a revelation. I had never felt so exposed and powerful at the same time. I practiced walking, sitting, even adjusting my posture, imagining how I would present myself at school tomorrow. Each movement reinforced the thrill, but also heightened the fear of discovery. The duality of desire and dread was intoxicating, and I realized I was addicted to this suspended moment. Half Ryan, half Mia's transfer student. I tiptoed across the living room, careful not to disturb the quiet. Every sound felt magnified, the soft rustle of the skirt, the faint tap of shoes against the floor, even the subtle swish of the backpack straps. My heart pounded with both excitement and fear. The house was empty, yes, but the possibility of Emma returning, or someone else appearing, made every step a delicate dance. I paused at the window again, peering out at the empty street below. My reflection stared back at me, a stranger wearing Mia's uniform, yet undeniably me. I felt a thrill I couldn't explain, a mix of freedom and vulnerability. I was playing a dangerous game, and the stakes were higher than I had imagined. As I adjusted my skirt, I noticed a neighbor across the street glancing in my direction. My breath caught in my throat. Could they see me? Did they suspect anything? I ducked behind the couch, clutching the backpack tightly, my mind spinning. The thrill of potential discovery made my heart race, but it also made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt before. I peeked out again. The neighbor had moved on, but the rush of adrenaline lingered. My reflection in the mirror reminded me that I was walking a fine line between fantasy and reality. Every second could tip the balance, revealing me, or letting me continue to explore this new, daring version of myself. With the immediate threat gone, I decided to immerse myself further in the persona. I practiced walking with the grace I imagined Mia carried herself with, tilting my head slightly, adjusting the tie, and flicking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. Each gesture made me feel more confident, yet more vulnerable. I even rehearsed speaking in a slightly higher tone, imagining how I would introduce myself as the transfer student. "Hi, I'm Mia. The new student," I whispered to myself, laughing softly at the ridiculousness, yet feeling a surge of empowerment. The voice, the posture, the confidence, it all felt intoxicating. Suddenly, The faint sound of footsteps on the stairs jolted me. Emma? I froze, the skirt clinging to my legs, the backpack pressing against my back. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain she could hear it even if she didn't come inside. The footsteps stopped. I held my breath, crouched slightly behind the couch. The seconds stretched endlessly, every heartbeat echoing in my ears. Then, the sound receded. Relief washed over me, but it was temporary. The near discovery reminded me how precarious this game had become. I was living on the edge, and the next moment could change everything. I realized that staying confined to my room and the living room wasn't enough. To fully embrace the transformation, I needed to move through the house, to test myself, to act as Mia's transfer student in the real world of my own home. I stepped carefully into the hallway, glancing at every corner, listening for the faintest creak of a floorboard or a distant sound of a returning car. Each step was calculated, but each step also increased my confidence. The uniform wasn't just clothing, it was armor, a disguise, and a key to unlocking parts of myself I had never dared to explore. I stopped before the large mirror in the hallway, studying my reflection. The pleats of the skirt swayed perfectly, the vest hugged my torso, the tie hung neatly around my neck. My hair, styled carefully, framed my face in soft waves. The makeup I had applied earlier caught the light, giving me a look that was innocent yet confident. For a moment, I reached out, touching the reflection. It was strange. The hand that mirrored mine seemed both familiar and foreign. I realized that this persona, this transfer student, was more than just a disguise. It was an extension of myself, a daring exploration of identity that I had only glimpsed in private moments. I began to imagine how I would navigate the school halls tomorrow. I pictured classmates whispering, teachers looking twice, and friends, or even rivals, reacting to the new presence in their midst. The thought was thrilling and terrifying. Could I really walk among them without revealing the truth? I practiced small gestures, adjusting my skirt, straightening the vest, tilting my head as if listening intently. Each movement reinforced the persona, embedding it deeper into my mind. I was no longer just Ryan experimenting at home. I was someone new, walking in someone else's shoes, and daring to embrace the exhilaration of discovery and secrecy. The suspense reached a new level when a faint knock echoed from the front door. My heart skipped a beat. Emma? Or worse, a neighbor, or even someone delivering a package. I froze, the backpack pressing against my back, skirts swaying slightly as I held my breath. I tiptoed to the peephole, heart pounding, and looked outside. It was a delivery person holding a small package. Relief washed over me, but only briefly. The knock reminded me that any interruption could reveal my secret in an instant. I opened the door carefully, trying to maintain composure in Mia's uniform. The delivery person handed over the package with a polite smile, and I fumbled slightly, my hands trembling. The risk of exposure was real, and yet, each close call heightened the thrill of the game. As I closed the door, I leaned against the wall, letting out a soft laugh. My heart was still racing, the adrenaline surging, but I felt more alive than ever. The uniform, the makeup, the shoes, it wasn't just clothing or a disguise anymore. It was a portal to a side of myself I had only dared to explore in private. And yet, the fear lingered. Emma could return at any moment, my sister could walk in unexpectedly, or a neighbor could see me. Each second was a balancing act between exposure and exhilaration. The thrill of the secret, the risk, and the transformation blended into a heady mix that left me breathless and yearning for more. I decided to push my limits. Staying in the living room wasn't enough. I needed to move around the house, fully embrace the persona of Mia's transfer student. With careful, measured steps, I walked toward the kitchen, pretending to check something trivial, though in reality, I was testing my confidence. Each sway of the skirt reminded me of the delicate line I was walking between secret thrill and total exposure. At the counter, I adjusted my vest and tie, noticing how the uniform accentuated my posture. The reflection in the polished countertop showed a girl I barely recognized. The transformation wasn't just visual, it was emotional. I could feel a subtle shift in my body language, a quiet confidence settling over me, even as anxiety lurked just beneath the surface. The thrill of being someone else clashed violently with my fear of being discovered. I loved Emma, yet I was hiding this side of myself. Would she ever understand? Could she accept it if she saw me like this? My mind swirled with what-ifs, each scenario more nerve-wracking than the last. "What am I doing?" I whispered, pressing my hands against the counter to steady myself. My pulse raced with excitement, but the underlying tension gnawed at me. Every sound, the distant hum of a car, the creak of a floorboard, the faint rustle from outside, threatened to expose my secret. I moved toward the hallway mirror again, unable to resist checking my reflection. Each glance revealed someone halfway between Ryan and Mia. The skirt's pleats swayed perfectly, the vest hugged my torso, and the tie hung neatly around my neck. My face, with its subtle makeup, looked soft yet alert. I practiced small gestures, tilting my head, adjusting the tie, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Each movement reinforced the persona. I whispered to myself, mimicking what I imagined Mia would say if she were introducing herself. "Hi, I'm the new transfer student." The words felt strange yet liberating, carrying with them the intoxicating mix of fear and thrill. Suddenly, a knock came from the door. My stomach dropped. Emma? A neighbor? Or worse, someone who could unravel everything? I froze, the backpack pressing against my shoulder, skirts swaying as I held my breath. I tiptoed to the peephole. A delivery person holding a small package stood outside. Relief surged, but I knew the risk remained real. Any interruption could unravel the fragile world I had built around this persona. I opened the door, maintaining composure, careful to avoid any slip that would reveal my secret. Closing the door behind me, I leaned against the wall and let out a shaky laugh. My heart was racing, the adrenaline making me feel alive in a way I hadn't before. The uniform wasn't just clothing, it was a key to a hidden part of myself, a world I had only dared to explore in private. I adjusted my skirt one more time, checked the tie, and glanced at the mirror. The reflection showed someone ready to step further into the role, to test the limits of this daring experiment. I imagined myself walking through the school halls tomorrow, being noticed as someone completely new. The thought sent shivers down my spine. As I moved toward the stairs to grab a small notebook from my room, I froze. A shadow passed across the hallway. My heart jumped. Could it be Emma returning early? I pressed myself against the wall, holding my breath. The shadow lingered for a second, then disappeared. Relief mixed with exhilaration. The close call reminded me how high the stakes were. Each step I took, each movement, each glance in the mirror was a dance with potential disaster. And yet, the thrill of walking this line made me crave more. Sitting down on the couch, I crossed my legs carefully, feeling the skirt's fabric against my thighs. I practiced tilting my head, adjusting my posture, even experimenting with a softer voice. Each gesture made me feel more like the transfer student I imagined myself to be. The internal conflict remained. Part of me feared being discovered, losing Emma's trust, or having my secret revealed. Yet another part relished the freedom, the exhilaration, and the chance to explore this hidden side of myself. The duality was intoxicating. I glanced at the clock. Hours had passed faster than I realized. Every small risk, every near exposure, had heightened my awareness. The thrill was addictive, but the stakes were climbing. Emma could return at any moment. My sister could walk in unexpectedly. Any interruption could push me over the edge, forcing a decision I wasn't ready to make. And yet, the desire to fully embody this persona, to become someone entirely new, even if only for a short while, was overwhelming. I straightened the vest, smoothed the skirt, and adjusted the tie. The mirror reflected both Ryan and the new transfer student, a dual identity balanced precariously between secrecy and revelation. By late afternoon, the house was silent again, the hum of distant traffic the only sound. I lingered in the hallway, adjusting the tie one more time, tugging lightly at the hem of the skirt. The uniform felt natural now, almost second skin, but the awareness of potential discovery made each movement heavy with anticipation. Every shadow seemed to shift suspiciously, every creak of the floorboards a warning. My heartbeat raced, a drum echoing through my chest, and yet the thrill of being in Mia's shoes, of being someone else entirely, kept me moving forward. I realized I was teetering on the edge. One misstep, one sound, one early arrival from Emma or Mia, and the fragile secret would shatter. I had just walked into the kitchen to grab a glass of water when I saw movement through the window. A neighbor had come by, an acquaintance I barely knew, and their eyes flicked toward my figure. My stomach flipped. Could they see me clearly? Would they recognize me? I froze, gripping the counter, feeling the soft fabric of the skirt against my fingers. The neighbor paused, then waved politely before continuing down the street. My pulse began to slow, but the adrenaline lingered, sharpening every sense. This near exposure made the thrill more potent, more dangerous. After the encounter, I moved toward the living room mirror, standing tall and adjusting my posture. The reflection stared back, a combination of Ryan and Mia's transfer student, perfectly poised yet trembling slightly with excitement. I practiced walking, turning, and even speaking in the soft, careful voice I imagined Mia would use. "Hi, I'm the new transfer student," I whispered, rolling the words over my tongue. The sound was strange, seductive in its novelty, and I felt a small thrill in the secrecy. I had to admit it. The uniform wasn't just clothing, it was a key to unlock parts of myself I had kept locked for years. And now, in this empty house, I could explore it fully. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching from the front door. My heart leapt. "Emma?" I ducked instinctively behind the couch, clutching the backpack tightly, skirt swaying lightly. Her voice called out softly, "Ryan? Are you in here?" I froze, my mind racing. Could I maintain the persona if she came in? My pulse thundered in my ears as I debated whether to reveal myself or hide. After a tense moment, the footsteps receded. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. The near discovery reminded me how fragile the balance had become. One wrong move, 1 second too long, and everything could unravel. I decided to push the boundaries further. I practiced gestures and expressions I might use at school, tilting my head slightly, crossing my legs delicately, offering a polite smile. Each action made me feel more like the transfer student, more immersed in the role I had created. Even tried interacting with inanimate objects as if they were classmates, holding the backpack, pretending to hand a book to a friend, whispering greetings under my breath. The duality of fear and excitement heightened every movement, every glance in the mirror, until I felt completely absorbed by this other self. I picked up Mia's backpack and slung it over one shoulder, adjusting the straps carefully. The weight of it felt symbolic, as if carrying the secret and persona together. A misplaced strap, a dropped item, or a sound could expose me at any moment. I practiced walking toward the hallway mirror again, this time carrying the backpack. My reflection seemed to watch me carefully, as though judging whether I could maintain this new identity. I took a deep breath, steadied my posture, and smiled at the reflection, embracing both Ryan and Mia's transfer student simultaneously. I moved to the stairs, testing how it felt to navigate the house in the full uniform. Each step, each sway of the skirt, each adjustment of the tie heightened my awareness. I was no longer just experimenting. I was performing, living out a fantasy that had never felt more real. The adrenaline of potential exposure and the exhilaration of being someone else intertwined, making my heart race. I realized that every second I spent like this increased the thrill and the stakes exponentially. By evening, I found myself back in the hallway mirror, reflecting on the day. The uniform, the shoes, the tie, the makeup, it wasn't just a disguise anymore. It was a portal to a version of myself I had longed to explore. I could feel the persona taking root, seeping into my posture, my gestures, and even my thoughts. I knew that tomorrow, at school, the real test would begin. Walking through the halls, interacting with classmates, maintaining the secret, This was where the real suspense would unfold. And yet, despite the fear, I felt a surge of excitement. I had already tasted the thrill of being someone else, and I was hungry for more. As I sat on the couch, adjusting the skirt one last time, I reflected on the duality of my situation. Part of me feared exposure, rejection, and the consequences of being discovered. Another part craved the thrill, the freedom, and the intoxicating possibility of stepping fully into this new identity. The house was quiet, the sunlight fading, and the shadows lengthened. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new risks, and new opportunities to explore the transfer student persona. I straightened my posture, smoothed the vest, and checked the tie. The reflection in the mirror stared back, both familiar and unknown, ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, the sunlight streamed through my window, illuminating the uniform carefully laid out on the bed. My hands trembled as I slipped into the blouse and vest, pulling the skirt up to my waist. Each movement felt heavier now, not because of the fabric, but because of the stakes. Today, the house would be empty no longer. Emma would be around intermittently, and later, the real-world school would demand my performance. I applied the makeup with practiced precision, each stroke a small ritual to transform me fully into Mia's transfer student. My hands shook slightly as I fixed the tie, adjusted the skirt, and smoothed the hair. The reflection in the mirror stared back at me, soft, feminine, and entirely believable. For a moment, I questioned if I could really maintain this facade. The bus ride to school was a test of nerves. I kept my head low, backpack slung over one shoulder, skirt swaying slightly with each step. Every glance from classmates felt like a potential threat, each whisper a warning. I could feel my pulse in my throat, but I reminded myself, I had rehearsed, I had prepared, and I had to commit fully. When I entered the classroom, a few students whispered among themselves. "Who's the new girl?" someone murmured. My stomach twisted, but I forced a smile, stepping lightly to my seat. Every movement, every gesture, every tilt of the head had to be precise. I wasn't just Ryan in disguise. I was the mysterious transfer student, and everyone had to believe it. Throughout the morning, I navigated small but tense interactions. A classmate brushed past me in the hallway, almost catching a glimpse of my true self beneath the uniform. My heart leapt, palms sweaty, as I clutched my books tightly and kept my head low. Lunchtime brought another challenge. Sitting with a group of girls, I tried to match their gestures, their laughter, their tone. Every smile, every nod, every small laugh was a performance. I could feel the thrill of potential exposure coursing through me, yet I had never felt more alive. Just as I was beginning to relax, a familiar voice called out from the doorway. "Ryan." I froze. My heart stopped. Emma. She was here early, and she had seen me walk into school as the transfer student. Panic gripped me. How much had she noticed? Did she suspect? The room seemed to tilt around me as I considered my next move. Emma's eyes scanned the room, landing on me. A slow smile spread across her face. "Wow," she whispered, almost to herself. "You really committed to the uniform." Relief and fear collided. Relief that she didn't seem angry. Fear because I had no idea what she knew or what she was planning. My voice caught as I tried to respond, careful to maintain the persona. The rest of the day became a minefield of interactions. Every class, every break, every passing glance carried the potential to reveal my secret. I had to stay in character, but my mind raced. What if someone recognized me? What if my sister found out? What if Emma decided to test me further? The adrenaline made each moment sharper, each movement deliberate. I practiced subtle gestures, adjusting the skirt, tilting my head, smiling just so, all while keeping my nerves under control. The line between Ryan and the transfer student blurred more with every passing hour. During a chemistry class, a minor accident almost ruined everything. A small bottle tipped, spilling liquid onto the edge of my desk. I jumped, narrowly catching my skirt before it brushed the floor. The classroom fell silent for a split second as eyes turned my way. My heartbeat thundered. The skirt, The symbol of my dual identity had nearly betrayed me. I smoothed it quickly, forcing a laugh, and whispered a polite apology. The moment reinforced the precariousness of my situation. A single slip, a fallen prop, a minor distraction could expose me entirely. By the afternoon, I realized I was addicted to the tension. Every close call, every near discovery, every whispered comment or sideways glance fueled the thrill. The duality of fear and exhilaration consumed me. I was performing, hiding, and exploring all at once. I even found myself practicing small social maneuvers, laughing lightly, speaking softly, moving gracefully. Each gesture reinforced the persona, embedding it deeper. I knew that when school ended, the real test would continue at home, with Emma waiting, the uniform still on, and the potential for exposure looming. After the final bell, as I walked toward the bus stop, Emma appeared again. This time, a knowing smile played on her lips. "You've really gotten into character," she teased, her eyes twinkling. Panic and excitement collided. I didn't know if she was joking, testing me, or secretly impressed. My heart pounded as I tried to maintain composure. Thanks," I managed, voice soft, careful. My fingers fiddled with the tie, smoothing it nervously. The walk home was a tense dance of glances and half-smiles. I could feel her studying me, and the possibility of being discovered made every step a thrill and a terror. Back home, I faced the hallway mirror again. The uniform, the shoes, the vest, the tie, all perfectly in place. My reflection stared back, confident yet trembling, feminine yet unmistakably Ryan. I ran my hands along the skirt, adjusting pleats, smoothing the vest, and fixing the tie one last time. The mirror reflected the duality of my identity, the precarious balance I had maintained all day. The experience had been exhilarating, terrifying, and utterly transformative. As I prepared for dinner, a sudden sound from the front door froze me. Footsteps? Emma? My sister? A neighbor? I held my breath, skirts swaying slightly as I pressed myself against the wall. The door opened, and the silhouette in the doorway was someone I didn't expect. My heart raced. Everything hung in the balance. One word, one glance, one gesture could expose my secret completely. I swallowed hard, poised on the edge of revelation, as the new chapter of this daring experiment, my life as the transfer student, hung by a thread. The hallway was quiet, the fading sunlight casting long shadows across the floor. I clutched the edges of my vest, the skirt swaying lightly around my thighs. Every nerve in my body was alert, every sound amplified, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant bark of a dog, even my own rapid heartbeat. The front door opened slowly. My stomach dropped. I froze, breath caught in my throat. The silhouette in the doorway was tall, familiar, and entirely unexpected. It was Mia's best friend, Jenna, someone I had never anticipated seeing here. Her eyes immediately landed on me, and for a split second, the world seemed to hold its breath. "Wow," she said softly, tilting her head, a curious smile tugging at her lips. You're really committed to the uniform, huh?" My heart pounded so violently I was certain she could hear it. I tried to speak, to offer some kind of explanation, but my words caught in my throat. The persona I had embodied all day, the poised, confident transfer student, was on the verge of cracking. I had only seconds to decide. Do I come clean, admit the truth, or stay silent and hope she believed the Mia persona? Every option carried risks. If I revealed myself, Emma might never understand. If I stayed in character, Jenna could suspect or worse, tell someone. I swallowed hard, my fingers clutching the edge of my skirt. The adrenaline coursed through me, making every breath shallow, every movement deliberate. My mind raced through every possible outcome, but none felt safe. I glanced at the hallway mirror beside me. The reflection stared back, half Ryan, half Mia, both terrified and exhilarated. The skirt's pleats, the vest, the tie, the careful makeup, all perfectly in place, yet teetering on the edge of exposure. Jenna took a step closer, curiosity shining in her eyes. "You're different," she said, almost in awe. I didn't expect this. Her words, simple as they were, felt like fire and ice. Admiration? Shock? Suspicion? I couldn't tell. And that uncertainty made the moment unbearable. The sound of the front door opening again made my heart stop.
Emma.
She had returned early. My pulse raced as I tried to maintain composure, adjusting the vest and smoothing the skirt with trembling hands.
The room seemed to close in around me.
Jenna glanced toward the door, then back at me, a knowing glint in her eyes. "Are you really?" she began, but I couldn't hear the rest over the roar in my ears. My world had narrowed to a single point, the dual identity I had cultivated and the risk that it would unravel in seconds. Every second stretched endlessly. My breathing was shallow, my fingers icy as I clutched the skirt. The persona I had built, the secret I had guarded, and the thrill I had chased all collided in this moment. Would I be exposed? Would Emma understand? Or would she see this as a betrayal? Could I maintain the fantasy? Or would the truth spill out, destroying everything? Just as Jenna took another step forward, Emma's voice rang out behind her. "Ryan, what's going on here?" The world seemed to tilt, and my reflection in the mirror captured both sides of me, the terrified boy and the daring transfer student. The skirt, the tie, the vest, all symbols of my secret identity, hung precariously between exposure and concealment. I froze, unsure whether to move, speak, or remain perfectly still. Time itself seemed to pause. Every heartbeat was deafening. Every second could change everything.